What's up everyone, I thought I'd make a video about PvP, the state of PvP and the things that just have to be changed. It's not a video to slam the devs, it's constructive criticism. Let's talk about Scribing. I think Scribing would have been fine if that was all damage. I don't see any problem with characters having access to different damage buffs. What I do see a problem with is more healing and more shields, and I don't know, some of these scripts or whatever are just crazy. We've got one that looks like to be the equivalent to Pale Order, like you get 36% of the damage you do back as healing. That's crazy. You get more shields, you get major vitality. With everything else that's on the game, with all the broken mythics and everything else, these things just weren't needed in my opinion. We didn't need anything else to do with healing and PvP. But this all comes down to not separating PvP from PvE. That's whatever though. Obviously, we already had sets like Blind Path Induction, the Blind Monster piece, bringing more shields, more healing, just crazy wild, on top of characters that already had broken healing wards, which is Arcanist. That character was broken before Goldroad even dropped. I remember people tanking Zerg to 20 people on console before I even switched to PC. Now I want to talk about Arcanist. With everything that's been added to the game, the passes on this character not being changed to me, it's just absolutely wild. We've got more recovery, 18% recovery, we've got more stamina, more magicka, extra healing, extra shields, more healing if you've got Crux active. I'm pretty sure they give themselves more armor on top of this with a skill, and they also get a damage reduction for having 3 Cruxes active. This has just led to complete live forever builds now, especially when being buffed by a friend using some of the other things mentioned, Blind Path Induction, etc. Mixed with major vitality. Now we have people that literally next to cannot die in PvP, and they're wearing 2 damage sets and just killing you in half a second, whether it be in the form of putting a dot passive to work and just put every dot in the game on you, so you can't heal through it and then you just die to that, or whether it be using sword and board and making yourself more tanky and using bash sets to kill you in 2-3 hits, just pointless for in PvP. And the constructive criticism for this is just simply attack the recoveries, make it so it has to steam out if you wear 2 damage sets. Just take that recovery and remove it, or put it to like something stupid like 2%, so then this character has to wear Wretched Vitality, which might solve some of the problems. This character is reaching like 3k of each recovery on some of the build videos I've watched. I played this on Bomber and that was close to that anyway, because obviously the more skills you slot, the more recovery you get. That's just crazy. Other than that, obviously you could cap the ward. Having a 50k health bar with a ward that scales off that is just wild. You could cap this ward at like 30k, or you could change the heal you get from the ward, or change some of the other passives, but I don't think any of them would make any difference. That would have to be the recovery or capping the ward, in my opinion. Like that is just my opinion. Then we can switch over to Sorc, which is the equivalent of this character now, broken ward, which scales off a 60k mag resource pool. Absolutely out of control for a character that can streak. The problem with this is, on top of the heal being broken, on top of them being near unkillable, you have the fact that it can sustain this so well, and people can still streak while spamming this 27 times. It's just boring, pointless PvP, in my opinion. What they can do to change this is just attack that recovery passive, or cap the ward, or change the way you get the heal from the ward. On the other side of the coin to this, you got people that are playing the counter to this build while being on the equivalent of this build, sustaining no problem, next to unkillable, streaking everywhere, blasting people that aren't playing the live forever build like this, and they're dying in 2 seconds to Oblivion, Defile and Overload damage. That probably now needs to be looked at as well. Again, this is just my opinion. Opinions are like arseholes, everyone's got to have one. This is my opinion, but it's also something I've seen across multiple campaign zone chats, BGs, Imperial City, Facebook comments, Facebook posts, and YouTube comments, and in Twitch chats. is saying things like, this is boring, I don't want to play this, I'm tired of hitting people's shields and not even taking the shield off to get to the health bar, etc, etc. I also think that the sorc passive of shock damage needs to be looked at, because with the Imperial Archive set that got added to the game, there's just more broken damage. People are running shock glyphs, shock everything on scribing skills. Yeah, and it's just completely pointless broken damage. Also, the Lightning staff passive probably needs to be changed, because that's just out of control. And we move on to Nightblade. This character has everything in his kit now. It's got a Merciless Resolve permanently applied. In my opinion, that should be reverted back. It's too easy to play. It's got a Forever Sustain button. Why that was added, we'll never know. But that, in my opinion, that wasn't needed to be added. That gets minor mending from the heal, which you can just spam and live forever. So that's boring. The skill changes that were made to this character, in my opinion, did nothing. It needs to have a timer put on Cloak, or Cloak needs to stop frogging the Vampire passive, because it's got completely huge broken burst, can go invisible and teleport, sustain forever, and yeah, just generally annoying character. I think by stopping Cloak frogging the Vampire passive, that wouldn't weigh this character down too much, as you can just be invisible anyway, and having to crouch to get your Vampire passive would slow the character down and stop people having just extra damage in general. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Clockwork City DLC being made free. Great for the community, just absolutely awful timing with everything else that's broken in the game. We definitely did not need the entire EO Cyrodiil running around with perfected asylum staffs, just blasting people from Cloak, killing them in 2 seconds, because this is what annoys me about PvP at the moment. I think there's too many ways that you can join PvP and get kills and just not take part, in the form of just hiding in Cloak and killing people at range. We already had people doing that before any of this stuff was added with Goldroad, on just dirty snipe builds, and just any gank build in general. Pretty much this character exceeds in every way you can play it. And the other side of the coin, you've got people that are joining PvP and not taking part, in the form of just standing in group buffs 24/7 on characters with massive wards and just being next to unkillable. Pointless boring PvP. Don't get me wrong, I played in a ball group myself, but I also played the game solo, I played the game duo, I played the game at BGs a lot, I play solo IC, I play all characters, I try builds without sitting looking at CMX. That's the next thing I'm going to talk about, what I think is wrong with PvP. I think the CMX add-on stops people going in Cyrodiil and trying things out, like the essence of the game. Go and farm some sets, putting different traits on your weapons, trying different glyphs, because they already know that they're going to go into Cyrodiil and melt people by looking at numbers on the screen, and that stops them entering Cyrodiil and probably getting killed by players that might not usually kill them when they're trying new sets out. That's the point I'm trying to make. I know that's going to be an unpopular opinion, because coming from Xbox to PC, this add-on isn't new, but it is new for me, and seeing it in action, I think it just ruins PvP. Whether you agree or not, whether it stays in the game or not, it's not something I'd be upset about. That's just my opinion. And we'll move on to Squishy Finder. That doesn't need to be spoke about, that just needs to be taken off the game. Then we'll move on to, I don't know what this add-on is called, but the leader of the guild I was in when I first joined the group, he told me that I had one of my weapons in the wrong hand. I just rushed my build on to jump into the group, and I asked him how he knew that, and he said he could see every single thing about my build when I joined the group, that being traits, weapons, the quality of my armour, what hands my weapons were in, my attribute points, even down to the poisons I'm using, my monster set, what champion points I had slotted, skills I had slotted. In my opinion, that's way too intrusive, and that also means if you're a competitive player in Cyrodiil, for me example, I'm a DC player, and if I fight players regularly on EP and AD, but then they're on my team in Battlegrounds, that means that they can see my build, and then when I go back into Cyrodiil, they can just make the complete counter to it. I think that's a bit intrusive, and brings a weird situation to the game that it just shouldn't. If that's for trials, keep it to PvE or whatever. In my opinion, I think that's a bit intrusive and probably should be taken off the game. The DK, I think everyone knows by now that you can just slot a cost reduction glyph and make Cinderstorm free, change your champion points to make Cinderstorm a really good heal. I think that should cost something, maybe the equivalent to a different heal, just to stop people from standing inside it and thinking they're just going to live forever, because that just brings back around the point of people joining PvP and not really wanting to take part. They just want to stand in a permanent heal and next to never die. The other thing I wanted to talk about quickly was people making comments about me playing in low MMR Bgs. If I had the option to choose high MMR Bgs, I would. It wouldn't affect the gameplay too much. Yes, I wouldn't be just walking through people, but I don't get on my hands and knees and suck players off so they don't attack me just because they're awkward players to fight. I think there's too much of that happening in PvP. That's something I also think is a problem in PvP. If you want to be friends with people, you should be able to attack them without getting upset if they kill you or you kill them. There's too much of that going around. You see it on streams all the time, people doing that as well. I hate that. I think that promotes not playing the game properly. I also wanted to talk about people being yes men for the devs, and when they read the patch notes, there's countless times I've seen people saying that's a good change to absolute dogshit changes, and when they make a bad change, they need to know that's why Cyrodiil is in the status in now, because people are just yes men, because they want to have some sort of inside information or whatever from the devs. That needs to stop, in my opinion. I just wanted to say something about the PvP update as well. Personally, I was bit gutted. I feel like I waited ages and it wasn't a new Cyrodiil map. I think a lot of people felt that way. And the highly unlikely chance that a dev would watch my video, I just wanted to say that I personally would pay for like a separate DLC or whatever form that was implemented. I would pay money for a new Cyrodiil map, and I think the entire PvP community would, judging by the response and comments and things. I just want to say as well, if something sounded weird or I cut to a different word or my tone of voice changed, it's probably because I was coughing when I said something and I had to re-say it because I'm not very well. I just wanted to make a video with my point of view as I've watched other people's, and if you disagree with anything, just drop it in the comments. Bye bye.